So in the military, we call them our primary care managers. So they're kind of like our general practitioner or family physician. So we have to go to them first to get a referral to any type of specialty care. So I requested an appointment with them. They did give me a referral for a mammogram and an ultrasound. It took a little over a month to get into the schedule to get a mammogram. And then, but immediately, they did the mammogram and immediately they were like, this is something we want a biopsy. They wanted to do a biopsy the same day. Again, I think I was still in denial.
The same day. Okay, yes.
Yeah, they said, "Hey, we could do it today." And then I asked, what would it entail? Is there recovery? And they said, you shouldn't lift anything heavy. You should rest. And I'm a mom of two. I have a toddler at home. I can't, if you're telling me I need to rest, I need to work that schedule out ahead of time. I can't just do that, on the fly. And so just based on my schedule and the schedule, at home, I wasn't able to go in for the biopsy for about 2 weeks. But I did go in and get the biopsy done. And then I'm going to say 2, 3 weeks after that, the results did come back, and they called me and they said, it's cancer. We need you to come in. We've got lots of people we want you to meet with, talk about, next steps. You can ask questions and we'll go through what's next in this meeting. And so I went to that meeting and it was a blur. It was just all this information.
Oh,
Immediately, they were talking about surgery, they were talking about chemo, they were talking about radiation. I got so many more tests. I got genetic testing, a ton of blood tests, got a PET scan. I think I did an MRI, just test after test after test. And then I did get the PET scan, and then I got my port installed in anticipation of chemotherapy. And then I think a couple days after I had the port installed, the results from the PET scan came back. And the doctor said, we got your results. And unfortunately, it looks like it's already progressed. It looks like it's in your bones. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do a biopsy of a spot that it appears to be in your bones and test if that's cancer as well. So I got the second biopsy and it did show that it had spread to my bones. At that point, they were like, you're categorically stage 4. And so treatment options changed because for my specific type of cancer, chemotherapy at that point wouldn't have done anything. Surgery might not necessarily help because it had already progressed. So after talking to friends and trying to do some research on my own and trying to utilize the resources available to me, I did seek a second opinion. And I am very happy with my healthcare team. The plan of treatment that I started in, last December-ish, it seems to be working well. It's keeping the cancer stable, so it hasn't appeared to have spread or multiplied. And so we're very hopeful that it continues to work.
wonderful news. I'm glad to hear that. I have a few questions for you, if that's okay. I'd like to know, what was it like to be diagnosed at 38 while being in active military duty? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so it was very jarring. It is a form of trauma. It's a traumatic experience. And I myself am still coming to terms with that it's a trauma. I think I was still in denial for a very, very long time. And we waited to tell even family for a while, and then waited to tell other people for a while because it was a lot. It was unbelievable. And then when I started talking about it, people were confused, they were angry, they were sad, they were upset, and so supportive. I think both in myself and the people around me. We all had a lot of questions. It's nothing you ever expect. It's nothing you ever prepare for. And especially thinking that I was young and healthy, and it's definitely the last thing that I ever expected.
So being in the military, was there a lot of support around that as well? You know, just the people that you work with and
Yes, there has been. Since I did start talking about it at work, just an overwhelming amount of support. Everyone has been amazing. My coworkers, we did a race walk together, and they all put my name on their bibs, and it was to raise funds for breast cancer research. And they all showed up and have just been amazing and truly supportive throughout this whole process.
do you think, Lindsay, your story has impacted some of your colleagues because you did wait a year? I mean, do you share this openly so that people recognize, and I hate to use the term early detection, but it is important that
Absolutely.
we know our normal and that we are educated. As I've shared with you, I was walking around with a tumor too, but I never knew it. You know, I never did a self. So young women knowing to do self breast checks. But do you think that your story now, just in the circles that you're talking to, but even hopefully this interview will wake women and even men up to recognize that this disease can happen and that you might never feel sick? I never felt sick. Did you ever feel sick?
I never felt sick.
No, you don't
So
feel
yeah.
it.
So that was another reason why I was just like, this, it's not
Yeah,
cancer. No, it
yeah,
can't be cancer.
yeah, right.
I'm humbled to say people have come to me and shared their own stories and have told me like I'm getting a mammogram soon because of your story, or I want to find out, what my risk factors are. And I have heard from men and from women who have had questions or felt from hearing my experience felt empowered themselves to kind of dig deeper in their own lives and find their risk factors and try to seek care. And that has been really amazing. And I don't credit myself with that. I just credit the lack of conversation that has been happening. And so, for the population, like you said, for a population with high risk factors, why isn't it being talked about? Why do people not know that could be they could be at risk. It could be happening to them and they don't even know it. I think that conversation is really important, however it gets started.